Okay, so the USFL just had their draft, but the problem is the general public does not know most of these guys, so I figured I'd just come here and give you one player to watch on every USFL roster. But before I do that, I'm planning on making plenty of USFL content throughout the season as well as other sports content in general, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. First team I'm going to start with is the New Jersey Generals, and the player that I think you need to watch for on the New Jersey Generals is Dante Bosby. Bosby genuinely has the potential to be the best defensive player in this league by a large margin. He got 3 picks in the AAF for the San Antonio Commanders, and then he had a very solid stint with the Broncos, but unfortunately was released, and now he's back playing spring football, and he's going to be a total lockdown corner in this league. Moving on to the Philadelphia Stars, and the player I think you should watch out for is quarterback Brian Scott. Now, you've probably never heard of the Spring League. It is a football league that is no cities, players don't get paid. In fact, the players actually pay to participate in it, and it's basically just a showcase of 4 teams full of a bunch of NFL and CFL hopefuls that some NFL teams and primarily Canadian teams watch and see if these guys are good enough to make their rosters. Well, Brian Scott won MVP of that league twice with 2 very good performances, and it's a 4-week season, and he was the only quarterback to pass for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, and like I said, he won MVP of the league twice. And so I think that success in the Spring League can translate to this Spring League being the USFL, and I think Brian Scott could surprise a lot of people. Next team we're going to talk about is the Pittsburgh Maulers and quarterback Kyle Aletta. Now, I love Kyle Aletta. Let me take you back to 2018. The 2018 quarterback class had a lot of question marks around it. Obviously, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have been great, but there were a lot of question marks on whether or not they would transition well to the NFL back then. And we've seen Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen be total busts, and Baker Mayfield hasn't really looked that great. So I had a bold take after the Senior Bowl. This random quarterback from Michigan comes in and balls out and wins Senior Bowl MVP. So I thought there was a legitimate chance that, given the opportunity, Kyle Aletta could have been the best quarterback from that draft class, but obviously the Giants drafted Daniel Jones and moved on from him, and now Kyle Aletta is in the USFL. But I haven't fully given up on Kyle Aletta. Obviously, he's never going to be better than Josh Allen. Obviously, he's never going to be better than Lamar Jackson. But I still think that he is a capable quarterback, especially in a league like this. I think there's a very good chance that Kyle Aletta is the best quarterback in this league. For the Michigan Panthers, my player to watch is Paxton Lynch. Now, I am fully aware that there is a very good chance that Paxton just doesn't play for them, considering that the first player they took was quarterback Shea Patterson, but I really don't think Shea Patterson is very good, and I think Paxton has more upside, so I would not be surprised to see Paxton start. But Paxton has a lot of upside. He has a lot of work ethic problems. I've heard rumors that he was more interested in Fortnite than learning the Broncos playbook, and he most recently got released by the Saskatchewan Roughriders of the CFL, and I believe the reason was something to do with the vaccine. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. So he's had some issues in the past, but most recently in the NFL, he played a preseason with the Seattle Seahawks and looked really good, something Shea Patterson hasn't looked like since high school. So I think that giving Paxton Lynch a shot to start for the Michigan Panthers is the right move and what ultimately will happen. And who knows, the talent is obviously there. Maybe Paxton can use this to get back into the NFL. My player to watch for on the Tampa Bay Bandits and my final quarterback of the video is Jordan Tayamu. Now, I watched Jordan Tayamu on the St. Louis Battlehawks, and they ran the ball way too much, and he still remained a standout quarterback, probably the second quarterback in the league behind PJ Walker. And I fully believe that in a more pass-friendly Todd Haley offense, he is going to thrive, and he has some good pieces around him. He has his center from the Battlehawks, Bruno Reagan, so that's going to keep some continuity there, and he has Eli Rogers, who's familiar with Todd Haley as his wide receiver 1. So I don't think there is any player in this league that is more set up for success than Jordan Tayamu, and I think he is going to thrive. For the Birmingham Stallions, my player to watch might be a fairly surprising one to some people, but it's wide receiver Emmanuel Hall. Now, I'm a Missouri Tigers fan, so I've seen a lot of Emmanuel Hall, and I think that he is a very good player. He is a very fast and dominant deep threat. His one issue is injuries, and that's been an issue that followed him into the NFL, and I'm confident that if Emmanuel Hall was healthy, he would be on an NFL roster right now. And that was his problem at Mizzou. When he was on the field, very dominant receiver, but he just needs to stay on the field. And he's had a couple stints with the Washington football team and the Chicago Bears and I think a couple other teams. But the point is, if Emmanuel Hall can stay healthy, he is one of the most talented receivers in this league, and I think that he is going to put up some pretty great numbers. For the Houston Gamblers, my player to watch is cornerback Jamar Summers. Now, I am fairly familiar with Jamar Summers from his days on the Birmingham Iron of the AAF, where in their 8-week season he racked up 3 interceptions. And he was just a really solid corner in that league, and I assume that he's going to have the same type of dominance that he had in the AAF in the USFL, and that's going to make him the best player on this relatively weak Houston Gamblers roster. My final player to watch of the New Orleans Breakers is going to be wide receiver Taiwan Taylor. Now, he spent 2 seasons on the Tennessee Titans, got a total of 697 yards, looked like there was definitely some potential there, and then he was traded to Cleveland for a 7th round pick and just really never saw the field again. So I think it's kind of interesting that he didn't get another NFL shot after the Browns, and I think the talent that we saw in Tennessee is still very much there, and that's probably going to make him the most talented wide receiver in this league. So I'm fully expecting Taiwan Taylor to just go off for the New Orleans Breakers. So, there you have it, folks. Me just spitballing a few players that you should watch for in the USFL. Let me know who your favorite player in the league is. I'm genuinely interested to see what y'all have to say.